another Rasa's Creepy reading. I might as well get this one out of the way because I kept talking about it the whole time in the crappy pasta story, Music Joy, my friend. And I really don't like Jeff the Killer. He's an overrated character who spends most of that time being a complete... what's the right word? Mary Sue. He really has nothing really interesting about him. His character is... he got bullied and somehow he gained psychosis throughout the whole time. It didn't even build up to anything. In my honest opinion, I would have gave this a generic for my opinion on Jeff the Killer. I did have originally a story written out, but the story was so messed up, like of me reading it and more of me yelling at the camera most of the time with Dolman, so I decided not to do that story. I'm sorry to say, but I'm going to read a different creepypasta story. This one is a Jeff the Killer one, and it actually seems more better. The story? LIARS! Actually, it's capitalized LIARS, and I think they misspelled it too. I'll check it out later. Let's begin. There once was a guy living in our neighborhood named Jimmy. He got picked on a lot for being a confident and funny guy. So our type of bullies like to mess with people who basically just all happy about themselves and likes to be funny. Okay? His mouth tended to get him into a lot of trouble, and he seldom learned his lessons. Okay, so basically he has a mouth that makes people want to punch him. And he's too dense in the head to give him the point to remember why he got punched. He's just very content to who he was and refused to change. Okay? When people asked him why he let them wail on him for his blunt comedy and wisecracks, he smirked and said, Honesty is the best policy. It's actually a nice policy. Too bad they keep kicking his ass. At least they're not hiding anything from me, and neither am I from them. So, yeah. So our character Jimmy is a nice guy. That's a good thing. One of the kids he advertently pissed off with a rather rude MILF joke was something of a psychopath with a sadist streak. And that guy's name was Jeff. Not really, I don't know his right name. Who didn't take kindly to the insults, so he rounded up the other guys who didn't like Jimmy, and they cornered him after school in the science room. Okay. That guy is going to get the crap hit. Jimmy is going to be on the ground wounded. You got a mouth, your mouth got you into this. I want you to remember that, Brett, the ringleader, told him, as he looked into Jimmy's terrified eyes. Well, I guess this is what happens when you believe in the term, honesty is the best policy. You're going to get your ass kicked. They grabbed some formic acid stored in the lab and threw it into his face, which, I don't know about formic acid, if it does work. If it does do the burning, but, They stood around watching him scream in agony as it ate through his flesh, before sniggering and running out. Now, this is the type of bullies that make more sense than the Jeff the Killer story. These guys seems more reasonable, while the ones at Jeff were more of the Malibu's Most Wanted style. They try to be all badass, but I'm pretty sure if one pulled out a gun and shoot one of them in the foot, they would scream and run away from mommy. Pretending to be concerned and wanting to help him out. Wanting to help for him. So they are being a little bit of assholes. When the paramedics arrived and were attending to Jimmy, who was no longer able to scream, either he was in so much pain or they literally drugged him to knock him out, the principal asked the boys if they knew what happened. Their leader, Brent, explained that they were walking past when they saw Jimmy sulking around the lab room, and by the time they got in there, he was already in that state. So, their lie goes, we just saw Jimmy getting all suicidal, poured it into his face, and started screaming when more people were more likely to jump out of a window, slit their wrist or throat, or hang themselves. Okay, I guess he went, at least that lie is something. The other members joined in and backed Brent up, with others fake details as Jimmy tried to protest in silent agony. The principal nodded and told him he would speak to them after he had the word with Jimmy and gotten his side of the story after he was out of the hospital. Ooh, this is actually interesting. As soon as Jimmy tells them, they're all screwed. A few days passed and Jimmy was kept in the ICU with bandages on his face. Just like Jeff. The doctors salvaged what little they could for his face. His vision still intact in one eye, and his jaw withstanding despite the loss of flesh. Ugh. He was still unable to speak and refused to respond to anyone. He just sat there, his eyes unblinking, staring at the ceiling, bloodshot and filled with animosity. Well, like I said, this one actually makes more sense. They basically broke the guy. What was Jeff's? Jeff didn't get broke. He was already broken for what they're describing. When he was discharged sometime later, he would not respond to anyone with anything other than the word liars. Oh. His social life gone, unable to smile or even crack a joke anymore. He secluded himself in his room and began planning. Well, this was a guy who basically has his face ruined, and we live in a society where image is everything. What, they couldn't do any cosmetic surgery, like fixing up his face by using some skin elsewhere on his body? Sick vindication thoughts started to appear in his mind. He would get them all one by one, decimating them, slicing them, burning them. He waited patiently until the group would be vulnerable. Hey, he's actually more thought-provoking. Yeah, he's now losing his sanity, but he's still thinking how to take them out. And he's not going at them all at once with some OP powers. He's actually thinking, I'm going to take them out when they're least expecting. Slowly, menacingly. They won't know what hit them. Late at night, when they said their goodbyes and went home separately, that's when he would strike. That weekend, Brent received the package in the mail. Curiously, he opened it and to find a VHS tape with the words, "For you." Holy crap, VHS tapes? How old is this story? Most people use DVDs. He put it in and played it. So what, he's expecting it to be a porno or something? It was crudely recorded home video by an unknown cameraman who didn't speak at all for the duration of the film. It began with the camera pointing at the date of the newspaper. It was yesterday. So it's even proving of a camera thing. As he zoomed out, you could see it was in the basement. A single flip-curve light bulb hanging above and a casting on an uncomfortable scene. So, did I just jump into Hostel or some reason? Because this is going into a style of a snuff film. And also, what about Jimmy's parents? Don't they have anything about it, or they just left him alone? By the time he completely zoomed out, it apparent this was no normal video. In front of the cameraman, and on his hands and knees, was one of Brett's friends. He was naked, and a dirty blindfold around his face, and a crude gag in his mouth. Yep, this is a snuff film! He was covered in blood, horrific burns, laceration, and wounds. One particularly large one on his back stood out, almost looked like a word. The cameraman, with gloved hands, took the gag out of the crying boy's mouth and immediately begged to go home. Well, yeah, this is a snuff film. I'm a little scared, and it's doing the job of torturing to a victim. Please let me go. I did what you wanted. Oh, God. Jeez. As he was just... Mike, Keith, you made me fucking butcher them all. I just want to go home, man. Please. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Holy fuck. He made one kill the others? This is cruel and effed up. He just kept repeating it over and over, rocking back and forth as he did so. Brett's legs began to shake as he felt the bile rising in his stomach. I would too, I'm not lying. He could see the burns, mangled bodies in the background, the bodies of his friends, all of them on their bodies and deep, large cuts. The cameraman reached out for the boy's chin and lifted it up, encouraging him to stand. Holy crap, they created a psycho, a monster. He did so obediently as he was slowly led to the door, off-screen, whimpering. Brent could see that what's been cut into his friend's back was the word liar. The camera cut out temporarily. Okay, before I go into more reading, so I'm taking a guess that when Jimmy was sitting in the hospital, he was given the info of what they said and keeping his mouth shut because he knows that they lied the whole situation. So instead of doing pure police justice, he's just saying, I'm going to make them suffer like bitches. I'm going to make them cry. And he made one mentally broke. When it restarted again, they were no longer inside. They were instead out of the cold snow on the outskirts of the woods. And it doesn't appear to be the original man holding the camera anymore. It was Brent's friend. He was whimpering and shivering as he held the camera up in place for 30 seconds, pointing at some trees in the distance. Because, I guess, Jimmy is now making him look for Slender Man. Oh, that's monster. Nobody wants to look for Slender Man. Even Slender Man went into hiding because of this crap. And now this torturous monster is making people look for him? Hearing footsteps draw ever nearer. Where are you, man? You said I can go, man. You said I can go. The boy screaming and crying, frightened out of his mind, as a sound of crunching snow draw nearer from seemingly every angle. Okay, we'll let that one. I'm gonna let that one slide a little bit because this actually seems more on the psychological department of screwing with the person by walking in the snow. And I didn't notice that. We didn't. Okay, I should have noticed this one more because I was too busy more terrified of the snuff film. But so it is winter, so we don't know how long this has been going on. Like, when did the events happen of Jimmy's suffering? That is kind of... That's all. The details of the environments and everything is vague at best, but at least it keeps it enough that you'd be more scared about what's going on with the characters. It stopped. He turned around to see the mangled face of Jimmy. A horrifying howl blared through the speakers, and the words liar appeared before the tape abruptly stopped. Holy crap. Oh, wait. Did he just... Wait a minute. He jump scared him. He literally did the... Appeared in front of the camera. Oh, for Lord's sakes. Brent feels faint and darted to lock the front door, knowing what was coming. As he turned to run for it, he immediately hits something and falls backwards. Oh, dang. Actually, that's kind of a little bit of a brilliant idea. By putting out... Jimmy literally put out the camera, the video, for Brent to watch while throughout the whole time being scared of this horrible thing he's watching. Jimmy snuckfully went into the house and begins his revenge. Brent feels faint and... Oh, sorry. The last thing he ever heard is liars, as acid ran down his face and began slowly eating away at his flesh. The last thing he seen was Jimmy's face contorting into a sick, twisted smile. At least his made more sense than Jeff. His was acid-based. Jeff cut himself, which would screw his own body up. And that's the end. All that's left is a picture of Jimmy coming at the camera with the word liar on it. I'll put it as the thumbnail. Please don't be grossed out by it. All I can say is, this is actually a better Jeff the Killer story because of the fact that it's not as long, but it gets what you need. Yeah, you don't get much about Jimmy besides the fact that he's more, what's the word? He's thick, but at least he believes in the term of honesty. So I guess when other people weren't honest about what happened, he just mentally broke. And what they did to him really did drive was the better job than what Jeff suffered. Yeah, I'm sorry for doing a comparing of Jeff to Jimmy a lot, but comparing the two, I do. Liar does a better. Liar does a better job in making you a little bit more scared, especially with the snuff film that was made. While Jeff's torture scene was all it was is just him killing his mother, father, and brother, which we didn't even get that much details, and the other killing was more of self-defense style. I'm not going to give this a big high rating like it is. There is some flaws to the story, the environment, more details that we got about Jimmy, but it does a better job. So I will give this story an Olive Garden. Hopefully, it's getting closer to the end. I'm going to be starting reading some of the weirder ones. Till then, this is Rasa signing out.